Puff no longer went to play along the cherry lane without his lifelong friend. Puff could not be brave, so Puff, that mighty dragon, sadly slipped into his cave. Oh, Puff, the magic dragon, lived by the sea and frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Honolulu. Puff, the magic dragon, lived by the sea and frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Honolulu.
It's the train I'm on, you will know that I am gone, and you'll hear the whistle blow 100 miles. 100 miles, 100 miles, 100 miles, 100 miles. You can hear the whistle blow 100 miles.
Lord, I'm one, Lord, I'm two, Lord, I'm three, Lord, I'm four, Lord, I'm 500 miles away from home. Away from home, away from home, away from home, away from home.
Lord, I'm 500 miles away from home. Not a shirt on my back, nor a penny to my name. Lord, I can't go back home this away. This away, this away, this away, this away. Lord, I can't go back home this away. You can hear the whistle blow 100 miles.
All I want is a room somewhere far away from the cold night air, with one enormous chair. Ah, wouldn't it be lovely? Lots of chocolate for me to eat, lots of coal making lots of heat. Warm face, warm hands, warm feet. Ah, wouldn't it be lovely? Oh, so lovely, sitting abso-bloomin' still. I would never budge till spring crept over me windowsill, someone's head resting on my knee, warm and tender as he can be, who takes good care of me. Ah, wouldn't it be lovely, 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 lovely. Where my free spirit onward leads, well, there shall be my way by my own
Friends, it is my duty and my honor to welcome you here today to the celebration of the life of Esther Dickinson, who died on July 24th. She was beloved to us, and we knew her from many different places and times in her life. And so it's a fitting way for us to say goodbye to someone we so treasured, to share our memories. I'm the Reverend Christian Schmidt, the interim ministry of this congregation, Mount Vernon Unitarian Church, where Esther was a longtime member, a fixture in our community. I have a couple logistical announcements to get through. First of all, I want to welcome our online guests. We're really pleased to be able to offer this to people all over our area and all over the world so they can be a part of this too. We are also with our, we thank you for complying with our COVID protocols, including masking. Speakers, while speaking, are allowed to take off their mask, hence why I'm not wearing it at the moment, but I'll put it back on momentarily. And that applies when people come forward to speak later too. You can take it off while speaking. We are asking you not to sing and merely to appreciate the music today, also as part of our COVID protocols. And after the service, if you didn't get a chance to beforehand, please check out the pictures and sign the guest book. So we come together today to grieve, yes, but also to remember the joy and laughter, hard times, the love, all that Esther was to each of us and to all of us. We'll hear from many about her, including from her family and others, hear about things she loved. So welcome, friends, to this time. I would like to invite forward her grandchildren, Brian, Jessica, and Ari, to light our chalice. At the beginning of Unitarian Universalist services, we light a chalice. It's part of the symbol of Unitarian Universalism. Today we light this chalice for Esther, but also for all of those here and everywhere who knew and loved her. May her memory bless us all, just as the light shines for all to see. We'll enjoy some music from the MVUC band. Some of you know I only started here at Mount Vernon on August 1st, so I didn't have the chance to know Esther in life. I've learned a lot about her through the recollections of those who were close to her and loved her, though. But today, the words I share are from the Reverend Kate Walker, who was Esther's minister for more than a decade. She asked me to share this with y'all, and so these are her words. Reflection on an extraordinary woman, Esther Dickinson. Kate writes, I met Esther and Rob in their kitchen early in the morning of an exciting Sunday in May of 2008. I was finishing my ministerial candidating week at Mount Vernon, and in a few hours I would lead my second worship service prior to a congregational vote to call me as your minister. Esther and Rob had not met me yet. They had loaned their house and car to me for the week while they went sailing in the Greek islands. I think it's a special trust that loans a house to a stranger. I think it's a special love that accepts a new minister into their lives with barely a cup of tea shared over early morning toast. I immediately felt that special trust and love by Esther and Rob that morning and over the next 13 years of my ministry. And yes, Esther reported that they did vote for me that day based on the recommendation of their friends and that I didn't trash their house and car. She was one of our office volunteers, so I frequently was able to see her beautiful smile and hear her friendly good morning. Even if I was in a slight bad mood, not often, Esther would quickly pull me out. She was eager to be a part of the office energy, receiving visitors with open hospitality, answering questions on the phone, handling the visitor cards with curiosity about who were these people, and ensure that whatever the office staff needed, we would be cared for by Esther. She was an important part of the Mount Vernon office team. She was generous with her stories of Rob. Yes, Rob, she liked to talk about you. As well as her children, grandchildren, and their pets, lost dogs included. She shared her stories as a Navy officer's wife, mothering her beloved Laura and Scott, and the challenges of her own childhood. Esther knew that her mother's death by suicide was a seminal moment in her development. She knew how much it impacted her own mental health. I was always impressed with her courage in naming this truth and knowing that perhaps she would be able to help someone else with a similar story. In addition to our shared love for Unitarian Universalism, Esther and I shared love for Providence, Rhode Island, where we both grew up, along with a surprising number of other members of Mount Vernon. Once in a while, I would pick up her Rhode Island accent as we spoke, dropping an R, almost like a parrot in kinship. She had a kindness like a sweet pear on a hot summer day. She eased my spirit. She paid attention in her eagerness to please. She could be anxious, but balanced her anxiety by keeping busy, something I recognize in myself. She loved to laugh, to stay informed of current events and news of her friends. She loved to be with her bounty of friends and keep busy with spreading her love. She was devoted to Rob, Scott, Laura, and her extended family. She was devoted to her faith as Unitarian Universalist. She was devoted to her church. She could be relied on as one of those members who would show up, do the hard work, and do so knowing, in her small way, it made a difference. She did make a difference, and her faith made a difference to her. Mount Vernon was her community after Rob retired from the Navy. She became a part of the church, and it a part of her. Even as her health declined these past couple of years, Esther's strength, sometimes hidden beneath her sweet pear-like love, would push forward. She struggled with undiagnosed problems. She was frustrated, appropriately so, and kept her doctors engaged in the quest to understand. She fought for her health and her life until that day she simply had no more energy to do so. She loved life with Rob, family, and her community. She wasn't quite done. Yet in the end, Esther was still trusting and loving life to the end. She was, and still is, a mentor and teacher to us all. Be at peace, Esther Dickinson. Be at peace and know you are loved. I welcome again our MVUC band.
Let the life I've lived speak for me. Let the life I've lived speak for me. When I come to the end of the road and I lay down my heavy load, let the life I've lived speak for me. Let the friends I've made speak for me. Let the friends I've made speak for me. When I come to the end of the road and I lay down my heavy load, let the friends I've made speak for me. Lay down your burden and rest with the setting sun. Oh, the beauty of your life will shine when your day is done. Let the love I've shared speak for me. Let the love I've shared speak for me. Let the love that I've tried to share and the burdens I've struggled to bear, all this life of joy and care, speak for me. Let the life I've lived speak for me.
Invite forward Laura Miller for a poem.
Wild Geese by Mary Oliver. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over announcing your place in the family of things.
We'll proceed with reflections from the family, from Scott Dickinson first, and then Susan.
So most of us that know our mother know that she had quite a few adventures in her life. She was born in East Providence, and by the way, if you're interested, the East is actually very important to her. It's, for that perspective. She grew up in a hardworking family. Her father, her brother, and many of my cousins on that side were all hardworking carpenters. They had an extreme work ethic that actually I think she brought forward in life. If you knew her and what she did, she was always very diligent, it was very important to her to do things correctly. Early in life, she relocated to Southern California, where she met a young naval officer named Robert Dickinson, who turned out to be the lover of her life. They were married and went on many, many adventures together. Some of them, if you read the obituary in the back, are detailed there. It's actually a very short list. We could go on quite length of the things they've done. Laura and I got to tag along with a few of them, but that's really not what I think was the most impressive thing about my mother when it comes down to it. It was her ability to connect with people, and even today as we look around at people here and on Zoom, we can see that. If you met her, she would have greeted you warmly. Somewhere in a conversation, she was going to share a story with her, and most likely she was going to ask you to share a story with her. But she was interested in those stories. She wanted to know about you, who you were, and to get to know you personally, what everything was about. And actually, for someone like me that is not as naturally gregarious or outgoing like that, it was actually very beneficial. I find myself today mimicking those traits she had when I get in social situations that she taught us so well. The result of this was she gathered an incredible group of friends. And again, we can see that at certain events we've had, and even here today. Even as she was traveling along, she was in Japan, Hawaii, Italy, around the United States of America. There was no place where she didn't get to meet people and get to know them. As a matter of fact, one thing I'm thinking of now was when she lived in Italy, she did not know Italian, but she did go down into the community and she learned some Italian because, darn it, she was gonna get to know people and meet them as best she could, and that was one way she could do that. She also was a lover of music. If you ever knew her, show tunes and popular music from the 40s, 50s, and 60s, she would know. I would dare you to find a tune she could not sing. It was something that we talked about often. As a matter of fact, in our house when we grew up, it was not uncommon that songs would simply be sung out of nowhere and unbroken. And actually something Laura and I learned was that was not usual in most families, and occasionally we learned we might want to warn people that if they came to our house, there might be a show tune sung at any given time. But she did it out of love, and she did it without embarrassment. One of the great tragedies of her life was that at the later part of her disease, she lost that ability to sing. But I don't think she ever lost that ability in her heart and soul. I think that was always part of her, and even today as we talk about it, continues. Once she moved into retirement, she was with the Navy for a while. She was drawn to things that had her interacting with people. Here at MVUC, for example, she was with the church, but as been alluded to, a lot of it was her getting to know people and involving herself with those people she knew. She also volunteered at the Smithsonian at the visitor's desk, and she'd come home all the time. I met this person, they're from Britain, and they had this family and 3 daughters, and they came here, and I guarantee those people got to learn something about us too, that as she was talking to them, she shared those stories as well. What's also interesting about her, I just made a note, she wasn't always as sure about this. I think Laura and Dad and I remember it was both her 70th and 80th birthday. We threw fairly big events for her. Mom was a little anxious that people weren't going to show up, and as we got to the top of the hour and there wasn't a big throng in the thing, you could tell she was getting a bit anxious. You guys did not let us down. I'm going to tell you that right now. By the time we were done, I almost thought I had to put a velvet rope up with the bodyguard to select people to come in. And it just shows who she was as a person. She wasn't trying to be this overly popular person. It's who she was. It's just the nature of who she was and her ability to connect. And I think that shows something else. I think the one thing I would suggest today is a celebration of her life. And if you really want to commit to it being a celebration of her life, I suggest you go meet someone you don't know. I would tell them a story about yourself. I would listen to a story about them. And if you want to really commit, break into a random song and do it without embarrassment and do it with love.
Hello, my name is Susan Dickinson. I'm married to Scott, and I've been Esther's daughter-in-law for almost 25 years. Esther was an amazing person. She was an amazing wife. Rob and Esther would have been celebrating their 59th anniversary last week. They were still very much in love. When traveling together, I often saw them walking arm in arm or holding hands when they were sitting around. She was an amazing mother. Just ask Laura and Scott. They can regale you with all kinds of stories. She was an amazing Grammy. She went to piano recitals, band and chorus concerts, play performances, banquets, soccer games, swim meets, taekwondo promotion ceremonies, and school functions for all 3 grandchildren. She loved spending time with her grandchildren and would do anything they asked her to. Brian's first sentence was, "Get the ball." He would toss a ball and expect someone to bring it back to him. Esther was visiting, and Brian said, "Get the ball." She happily got it and gave it back to them, and they giggled together. He did it again, and they were all smiles. Once she was babysitting for me, and upon my returning to home, I found her mixing plaster of Paris in one of my new Tupperware containers. When I asked her why, she said, "Jessica wanted to, and there was an art kit on the top shelf in a cabinet that Jessica knew where it was, and Esther needed to stand on a chair and open a door to get to it, but Jessica knew it was there, so Esther assumed it was fine." Another time, she was taking care of Ariana, and Ariana expressed an interest in sewing. Esther immediately pulled out all her sewing supplies and encouraged Ariana to experiment. She was an amazing mother-in-law. Scott and I met in September of 1995 and started dating in October. We invited Rob and Esther over for dinner at my house once that fall. At Christmas, Esther gifted me with a covered casserole dish that matched the pattern of my dishes exactly. Afterwards, I asked Scott if he thought that was just a coincidence. He said he knew it was not. It was just what his mother did. Another time, her and Rob were in Rhode Island and had extra room in the timeshare they rented, so they invited us to come stay with them. Scott ended up changing jobs, therefore not having the vacation time off that he had expected. So I took the kids and drove to Rhode Island on my own. It was a great time at Newport Beach. The kids had fun with their grandparents, and they really got to know their great Uncle Dave before he became ill. Some of my friends asked me if I was crazy going to spend time with my in-laws without my husband, but my answer was, why wouldn't I? Since then, we've gone on many adventures together, scrapbooking retreats, shopping excursions, family vacations, and even 2 more trips to Rhode Island. There was always fun to be had when hanging out with Esther. Yes, Esther was amazing, and she lived a long and adventurous life as a Navy wife, mom of 2, and Grammy of 3. We all miss her dearly, but hopefully we will always smile when we think of her and remember some of the amazing adventures we had with her. I will never forget the last 2 things Esther said to me. The first was, "Parkinson's sucks," with which I totally agree. The final was, "I love you all."
As I mentioned at the very beginning, most of the music we're doing for prelude and postlude were some of Esther's favorite music. When Reverend Christian Schmidt and I went to the family of Rob's home to talk with them about the service today, we spent about 30 minutes talking about the service and about an hour talking about the music. That's how much the family is dedicated to recreating the music their mother loved. So this next song, I just want to explain carefully. Holly Mala is out there and has graciously agreed to provide a rendition of it, but I want you to picture in your mind Esther at a dinner table at her own home, belting this out for dinner guests. I'm just a girl who can't say no.
It ain't so much a question of not knowing what to do. I know what's right and wrong since I've been 10. I heard a lot of stories and I reckon they are true about how girls are put upon by men. I know I mustn't fall into the pit, but when I'm with a feller, I forget. I'm just a girl who can't say no. I'm in a terrible fix. I always say, come on, let's go, just when I ought to say nix. When a person tries to kiss a girl, I know she ought to give his face a smack. But as soon as someone kisses me, I somehow sorta wanna kiss him back. I'm just a fool when lights are low. I can't be prissy and quaint. I ain't the type that can faint. How can I be what I ain't? I can't say no. I'm just a girl who can't say no. I can't seem to say it at all. I hate to disappoint a beau when he is paying a call. For a while I act refined and cool, a-settin' on the velveteen settee. Then I think of that old golden rule and do for him what he would do for me. I can't resist a Romeo in a sombrero and chaps. Soon as I sit on their laps, oh, something inside of me snaps. I can't say no.
In planning this service, the family wanted to make sure to have time for people who wanted to share their own memories of Esther to come forward and do so. You're welcome to come up here. We also have a mic on the floor that might be a little more accessible. And I think Carolyn White wanted to start us off. So I'll invite her forward.
Hi, I'm Carolyn White. I'm the church administrator here at Mount Vernon Unitarian Church. I met Esther on my second day on the job, and she greeted me such a big smile and welcome. After a brief greeting, she wanted to know everything about me. And it's kind of interesting how she did it. She was interrogating me, and I didn't realize that's what she was doing. But she had a knack for getting information out of people, and they just didn't realize they were giving her information. And she also had an open curiosity about people, too. She wanted to know what was it about them and how they were. So in the following weeks, as we continued to get to know each other, she told me stories about Rob and her children and her grandchildren. And some were funny, some were serious, but always with so much love and admiration. I could tell how much she loved every single one of you. And she was very proud of every single one of you. I also learned that she loved to laugh, she loved to tell jokes, and break out into song. The first time she did it, I was just kind of like, okay, this is interesting. Okay. But I got used to it, and sometimes I would join in if I knew the song. I enjoyed our friendship growing every week as she volunteered in the office. She was an excellent ambassador to MVUC. She loved this church and what it stood for. Esther has enriched my days, and I will miss her terribly.
Please feel free to come forward.
I'm Suzanne Clary Cohen, and I just had one brief thought to share with you all today. So I woke up thinking about Esther, and actually with a song going through my mind that came from a time when we went to Romania. And Rob and Esther were there. We had been in our village of Centeramshag, and each staying with our own little family who was there and who welcomed us, so warmly. And we were up climbing, and Rob, I think you were there too. We had gone up in the hills above Centeramshag. It was really beautiful. You had a view, and Esther burst into song. The hills are alive with the sound of music. And it just, that was Esther. It was so beautiful. And I will always remember that about her, and her love of laughter and fun and joy, her willingness to be silly, to be giddy, and that was Esther. But the hills are alive with the sound of music.
I have to be somewhat repetitive in two respects. Oh, I'm sorry. In two respects. One, you like to sing. It's come across. Well, I never heard her sing a pop song or a musical song. I heard her sing the song which is next on our program here. It was also in Romania. We were in the large Unitarian church in Cluj. We were in a group of American Unitarians, some from our congregation, but also other congregations. And we all got up to sing our favorite Unitarian hymn, Spirit of Life. I was standing right next to her and Rob. We sang it. It starts out with, you'll get it, Spirit of life, come unto me. And it ends up with, roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come unto me. I'd gotten to know Rob and Esther through many conversations during this trip and the visits that we went to. But on that occasion, at that moment, I realized she was not only a lovely person, but she could sing beautifully. She had a beautiful voice.
Will certainly be plenty of time at the reception afterwards to share more memories too. I would like to invite forward the grandchildren once again for our chalice extinguishing. We extinguish this flame, but like our memories, we will continue to carry it in our hearts as we prepare to leave this place. So as I said, we'll continue sharing as we move on to the reception in a moment. I know that we'll take so much of who she was with us into the world. You are all invited to a reception under the tent. If you go out through the commons and kind of curve to the right around the parking lot, you'll see the tent. It's in front of Hall and Hall. You're welcome also to walk around the grounds. We have some lovely gardens. If you walk down back behind this building, our memorial garden, which is where Esther is now interred too. As we close today, I invite you to begin to let go of some grief and sadness and let these warm memories replace that. I have some closing words also from the poet Mary Oliver. To live in this world, you must be able to do three things: to love what is mortal, to hold it against your bones knowing your own life depends on it, and when the time comes to let it go, to let it go. So as we prepare to go, let us begin to let that go. You're also welcome as you leave this space. I invite you to stay seated for the postlude, and thank you so much to our band out in the commons. You're also welcome to sign the guest book on your way out, too. So please stay seated for a moment, listen to the lovely music, and think of Esther.
Brand new state, gonna treat you great. Gonna give you barley, carrots and potatoes, pastures and cattle, spinach and potatoes, flowers on the prairie where the June bugs zoom. Plenty of air and plenty of room to swing a row. Plenty of heart and plenty of hope. Oklahoma, where the wind comes sweeping down the plain, and the waving wheat can sure smell sweet when the wind comes right behind the rain. Oklahoma, every night my honey lamb and I sit alone and talk and watch a hawk making lazy circles in the sky.
We know we belong to the land, and the land we belong to is grand. And when we say, yo, a yippa yippa yee,
We're only saying you're doing fine, Oklahoma, Oklahoma, okay. I'm coming home, I've done my time. Now I've got to know what is and isn't mine. If you receive my letter telling you I'd soon be free, then you'll know just what to do if you still want me. If you still want me, tie a yellow ribbon round the old oak tree. It's been 3 long years. Do you still want me? And I don't see a yellow ribbon round the old oak tree. I'll stay on the bus forget about us, put that blame on me if I don't see a yellow ribbon round the old oak tree. Bus driver, please look for me, 'cause I couldn't bear to see what I might see. I'm really still in prison, and my love, she holds the key. A simple yellow ribbon's what I need to set me free. I wrote and told her, please, oh, tie a yellow ribbon round the old oak tree. It's been 3 long years, do you still want me? If I don't see a yellow ribbon round that old oak tree, I'll stay on the bus, forget about us, put that blame on me if I don't see a yellow ribbon round the old oak tree. Now the whole damn church is cheering, and I can't believe I see 100 yellow ribbons around the old oak tree. All right. One, two, Land is your land, this land is my land. California, to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. As I was walking that ribbon of high, I stole yours, I saw above me that endless skyway. I saw below me that golden valley. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land, this land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. As I was rambling and followed my footsteps to the sparkling sands of a diamond desert, and all around me a voice was sounding. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land, this land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. This land was made for you and me. Sorry. Alex?